You are not stupid, but your process of learning things probably is stupid. Drop all of the crap, okay? You could be understanding things 100 times faster if you just did it through storytelling. Every concept, whether it's history or English lit, where there's like an actual story to follow, or whether it's maths or science, where there's all of these weird, specific, big scientific concepts, there's a story in there. There are characters in there. There's a plot line in there. And there's an entirely different universe with its own different rules too. You've just got to be willing to see it. So you're watching Harry Potter for the first time and you're confused as to why there are kids flying on broomsticks. And it's like, well, duh. Of course kids can fly on broomsticks. It's a rule in the Harry Potter universe. So now you're doing algebra and you're trying to solve for X. Bear with me. I swear this is going to make sense. And let's just say you don't yet know the rules of the algebraic universe. So you start multiplying, but then you only do it on one side, and then you start subtracting, and it's like, oh, wait, you're bloody confused, and you got the wrong bloody answer. Why? Because you don't yet know the rules of the algebraic universe. That you've got to do reverse BIDMAS, and that you've got to do whatever you do to both sides. If you don't know the rules to whatever universe you're dealing with, you're going to be really flipping confused. So you're learning, but you still don't understand it. You've gone back to the basics and you've learned and reminded yourself of all of the rules, but you still don't understand. Well, maybe you just don't know the characters quite well enough yet. Okay. Let's go chemistry now. Particle arrangement of solids, liquids, and gases. These are our three main characters. Solids. The scientific description is that they're packed super tight together, don't really move, but they do vibrate on the spot. But the storytelling definition is that solids are kind of like that really anxious friend that doesn't do too much, isn't too energetic, doesn't like to go out and socialize a lot of the time. They kind of just shiver in a quiet little spot. Gases are like the super energetic friend that doesn't like staying still in one place like our friend Solid does. They're up and about and they sometimes even hit or collide, wink wink, with other particles / people when they're going out and about with all their energy. Liquids is the friend that's somewhere in between the two. They like to move, but not as much as gases. They don't get anxious and vibrate on the spot like solids do, but they do like to socialize a bit. And they do like to do a little socializing and slide around from person to person or particle to particle. Now, obviously, I've simplified it for the sake of this video, but I think you probably get the gist of what I'm trying to say here. When you assign these traits to a concept, you can better understand why they do the things that they do. Why do gases move around super fast and collide with one another? Because they have a lot of energy. Now, one really important thing is that in order to know these traits, you've got to break down the vocab. One of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to learn something is just memorizing big words without ever actually learning and understanding what they mean. Never, and I mean never, do this. Look, if you've never watched Star Wars before, how would someone expect you to know what a comlink is? You'll hear fans of Star Wars speaking about this stuff and you'll be extremely confused. Why? Because you don't yet know the specialized terms of the universe yet. So we're taking it back to physics now. Do you remember Newton's first law? An object will remain stationary or moving at a constant velocity unless acted upon by a resultant force. What the heck is this, okay? If you don't know what stationary means, velocity, resultant force, it's all going to sound like niche Star Wars vocabulary to someone who's never watched it before. Almost like a foreign language. You are not going to magically understand this. You've got to translate it literally as you are reading. The second that you don't understand something, look it up. Stationary, not moving, still. Velocity is just a very fancy word for speed, but it also has your direction, okay? If you're running at 20 kilometers per hour, that's your speed. If you're running 20 kilometers per hour to the left, that's your velocity. And a resultant force is just the sum of all of the forces acting on a particular object. But, okay, there is a problem with this method. Newton's first law is relatively simple, which is why I used it as an example in the first place. But sometimes you'll look up a posh word only to come back with even more posh words in the explanation. It is at this stage that you either A, go back to the rules of the universe, the characters, you might be missing something, or B, use the cramming structure that I talk about in this video here. Even though it is about cramming, it's also just a really effective structure that you can use to just learn anything in general, even without a time restraint. Now, if you need an application that helps break things down much better than I can, no matter how big or how small the scientific concept is, you're going to want Brilliant. Brilliant is an app for smart people like you. I know you're smart because you're watching my videos. It has thousands of interactive lessons in maths, science, programming, data analysis, and AI. Learning on Brilliant has been specifically designed to make you learn fast and to make you learn effectively and for you to altogether enjoy the learning process. Each lesson on your chosen subject has segments that make you play and interact with the concepts to aid your understanding. For science, Brilliant's courses takes the most complex subjects and makes them easy and understandable. We've been talking about how to understand stuff, which is very well suited to the fact that Brilliant literally helps you think like an engineer. You'll be designing things like electric circuits, gear systems, and stable bridges, all from the comfort of your own home. You'll also just develop that scientific intuition that you need to just have that aha moment and get the concept that you needed. And because I am simply the best, I did hook you guys up with an offer. If you click the link in the description or scan the barcode, you can try everything that Brilliant has to offer for 30 days for free. You can also get 20% off if you choose to continue with an annual subscription. Again, that's brilliant.org/girlandworld to get 20% off your annual subscription and the first 30 days for free. What are you waiting for? Okay, so we got the rules of the universe, the niche vocabulary, and the characters. But now we've got to understand the plot, because I am telling you that there is a plot there. I'm literally going to bring out the whiteboard for this. You know it's a serious video when Golden World's bringing out the damn whiteboard. I am going to make you understand university level biology in literally 2 minutes. Watch me. Pre-eclampsia. Big word, straightforward concept. So, our story starts with a mother. And congratulations to mum because she's pregnant. But there's una problema. Uno problema? I don't know. I took French, not Spanish. Mum is experiencing high blood pressure. She's got swelling all over her body and there's protein in her urine, which is like not a good thing. But why? We have our little embryo, okay? Our little unborn kiddo, right? We've got 2 layers of tissue and then we've got our arteries that carry blood and oxygen. So, what do all living creatures need? Oxygen. We've got to get that poor kiddo oxygen somehow. Our little baby embryo has these little cells that I've very poorly drawn in called trophoblasts. And why are they called trophoblasts? Because they've got to blast through whatever's going on over here to get to the damn oxygen. But in preeclampsia, the trophoblasts are flopping, okay? They're trying to get to the oxygen, but they're just not being aggressive enough about it. They're kind of weak. And then low-key, the arteries kind of suck too because they're supposed to be expanding, right? They're supposed to be getting larger so that the little trophoblasts here have more space and like more than like a wider area to get the damn oxygen from. But they're not getting wider the way they're supposed to. So we have our little embryo wrapped up in the placenta or the uterus or whatever you want to call it, represented by the blue. Now this placenta is not getting enough oxygen. This is bad. This is our rising action in the plot now. So what does it do? The placenta gets really angry. It starts releasing things in the body that cause the mother to feel unwell. These things that they released are our bad guy, our villain of the story, factors. Factors are kind of like chemicals, but not all of them are chemicals. And they just start causing absolute chaos in the body. We've got a blood vessel here, right? And there are these little cells that line the inside of the blood vessel. Factors, absolutely detest them. These cells that line the blood vessels here are on edge because of that, and it becomes harder for them to relax. These blood vessels can't relax. Uh-oh, the mum's having high blood pressure. And on top of that, the villain, the factors, makes the blood cells really leaky, so protein escapes from them and comes out in the urine. And protein has a best friend. If you're a medical student, you already know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about water. Protein and water, ride or dies. Wherever protein is going, water is going too. So water also escapes from the blood vessels. You want to guess what happens next? Swelling. Where there's too much water in one place, it begins to swell, which explains all of the physical symptoms that the mum was experiencing of high blood pressure, excess protein in the urine, and swelling. Now are the dots starting to connect? I'm not expecting you to remember all of that, unless you're a medical student. Shout out to all the med students that watch my videos. But I'm guessing that you probably understood most, if not everything I just said when I said it in that moment. Why? Because you were following a story, a riveting, moving story about an unborn baby just trying to get oxygen. The moment you start understanding the plot, you can slowly begin to introduce posher and posher words. For example, those cells that line the inside of the blood vessels, those are epithelial cells. But it's no use reading a bunch of big words and trying to understand the concept when you don't even understand what they mean or the plot behind it all. But you can take this a step even further. Ask questions. Look, I get it. Nobody, and I mean only crazy nerds like me, actually enjoy the process of putting your hand up and asking a question. It's daunting, especially when no one else in the class is doing it. It's just kind of awkward. What if no one else was thinking that? What if everyone already knows the answer? What if people think that I'm stupid? First of all, anyone that has the audacity to call you stupid themselves must have a pretty low outlook on themselves and their own intelligence anyway. Not saying that they're stupid, but they may perceive themselves to be stupid and therefore feel a need to lash out to you for reflecting something that they probably think deeply about themselves but won't admit to. Yeah. Secondly, even if that's not the case, other people are high-key, irrelevant. Are you going to care about those people on graduation when you get the degree that you need and the grade that you need it in because you had the courage to ask questions about things you didn't understand? Are you going to care about those losers when you get that paycheck from that dream job that you studied hard for and you ask questions about? No, you're going to be living your life, doing your thing, making the bank because you weren't afraid to be perceived as dumb in the moment, so you could actually become smarter later on. My motto is, I'd rather feel stupid now than feel stupid on results day. So when you're asking questions, the more specific, the better. For example, if I was cool enough to be a professor of biology and I was just teaching my students that biology there and they wanted to ask me questions, they could ask things like, hold on, I didn't quite get that. What causes the factors to be released again? What are the cells lining the blood vessels called? Why don't the trophoblasts get the oxygen? What even are the trophoblasts again? And yes, if you genuinely do not understand anything, and I mean anything that's going on, then of course ask what the hell is going on. But also go back to the previous steps, go back to our settings, our rules of the universe, our characters, our niche vocabulary, and of course the plot, because we do it for the plot. Now, as you're going through this plot and these characters and the setting, you're probably going to need to take notes, but your notes probably suck. But I can fix that for you if you click here.